Good afternoon. My name is Robert Walker, and I'm Brand Manager for RetirementHomes.com. Welcome to our February webinar. We are North America's leading online sales and marketing solutions provider, including our housing directory, our online library, and e-newsletters. We also offer, free of charge to senior living communities, the top experts in senior living every month who will share their knowledge in the fields of marketing, research, sales, and related areas in webinars such as the one you're about to hear. This month, we present Patty Cisco of Cisco & Company. Patty's presentation, How Content Marketing Can Boost Your Leads and Reputation, will introduce you to content marketing, what it is, and how it can be a revenue generator for you. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. If you would like a question answered, raise your hand in the toolbar to the right, type in your question, and time permitting, it will be answered at the end of the session. And of course, you are also welcome to ask a question anytime during the presentation itself. Now, here's Patty.
Thank you, Robert. It's a pleasure to be with Retirement Homes and all of you today as we learn a little bit more about how content marketing can boost your leads and reputation. We have a lot of information to cover today. Some of the highlights or an overview of what we're going to be talking about is exactly what is content marketing. It is relatively new in terms of what you need to be considering and repositioning your overall marketing strategy for. And really is your audience online for content marketing. We are a senior care and living industry. And is our audience really there looking for your services? What are the benefits of content marketing and goals that you should consider when you're formulating your content marketing plan, as well as how to get started? And what are some ideas that maybe can give you a boost in getting your plan put together? And of course, looking at 2013 overall, what should you think about with content marketing relative to your overall marketing plan? So let's jump right in. Let's talk about what content marketing is. And content marketing is actually the creation of very relevant and valuable content that's specifically created and directed towards a targeted audience. The goal of content marketing is to engage your target audience with an objective of getting profitable action, getting them to do something. In other words, in our line of work, we think about a sales funnel. So we're trying to pull them in order to generate more leads, turn them into prospects, and then into sales. Content marketing is very focused. So instead of the old school shotgun approach to putting a newspaper ad out there and it goes to everyone, content marketing is very specific to a targeted audience. And the overall goal is engagement. We want to build a relationship, create opportunities for people to want to come back and talk to us about other things. Some examples that we think about when we look at content marketing, and some of these you may be doing in some way, shape, or form. The question is, are they all integrated towards one focused purpose? So sharing content like social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, those are all areas to consider. And I'm not advocating that it's necessary for you to do or engage in all of those social media platforms, but just realizing that those are a form of content marketing. Sharing via other content center channels such as Pinterest, and noted that Pinterest is primarily a very female audience and growing very, very quickly, as well as Yelp and other search engine directories. And of course, keywording is extremely important when it comes to content marketing. You may have good content, but if you've not optimized the content for keywording, then it's not going to be effective or work as hard as it could for you. And of course, there's infographics. This is the new introduction relatively within probably the last 6 to 8 months that we really start to see kind of hit the surface, if you will. And it's really a very pictorial form of marketing with content and messaging. And of course, there are case studies. And case studies are an excellent way to demonstrate content as well as expertise. And then presentations focused on specific topic, and then posted on SlideShare, for example. And they don't have to be long. They can be 1 to 3 minutes, or sometimes the most effective types of educational presentations that you can create and put on your website. And of course, regularly posting a blog with custom content is extremely important. So this is an example of one of our blog articles, and we blog a minimum of once a week. So looking at how do you regularly create relevant content for an audience. And then how do you look at taking content and putting it into email newsletters so that those newsletters get opened and read and generate some type of action. At the end of the day, that's the question that you ask with content marketing and any one of these tactics is it getting you new leads? Is it working for you? Well, the ultimate question is, why does content marketing work? Well, amidst all of the other stuff that you see on the internet, overall, our audience has a very short attention span. When you think about yourself, how many emails do you get a day? How many do you open? How many do you delete? How many phone messages? How many texts? We're overwhelmed with information. So anything online, on your phone, on your iPad, people are scanning. They're not reading. So the content has to be very captivating to capture their attention. So one way to do that is by understanding your audience and what they really want, what's really, really important to them. So content marketing should answer the common questions your target audience is asking. So if they're asking, how do I make a decision on what type of care my mom needs, well, then the content should be providing answers relative to those types of questions. By providing relevant and interesting content, it really allows your audience to engage and associate with your brand, which in turn gives a positive experience. So instead of feeling like perhaps they might have been overwhelmed with your sales pitch or pushing out your message onto folks, they're feeling like you really understand them, what their needs really are. And think about this. People really view most advertising negatively, so they don't want to have information pushed out or onto them. And content marketing is intended to do just the opposite. You can sell yourself and your services by sharing your knowledge and your expertise. Now, content marketing needs to be very authentic, organic, and nurtures engagement. However, in order to be successful, it has to include several things. It has to be strategic, and it takes planning to do that. You need to be very thoughtful and intentional about creating genuine content. And then think about where your audience is and what content distribution across all channels is going to be most effective. And one of the wonderful things about internet marketing overall is your ability to constantly monitor, measure, and change quickly so that you can ensure that your content marketing is working hard for you. Content marketing really helps your target audience relate to your brand. And branding is very significant today as you think about all of the competition for your senior care and living services. So your brand needs to stand out. And the question is, what is it going to stand out for? What is it going to be? What are people going to recognize your brand for? And do they have a positive experience when they engage with you? Whether they come to your website, your Facebook, whether they read your blog or other content that you're posting, does it create a positive experience? Does it want them to, does it elicit engagement, wanting them to interact with you? Or are they sales pitches, all about you messages? Well, let's consider some research. 50% of marketers have acquired new customers because of their blog, and 52% of consumers say that blogs have impacted their purchase decisions. That's pretty significant. And quite frankly, that's a percentage we're going to see grow even more because people make decisions based upon how they're influenced on others who have either utilize the service or have an opinion about the service. So what's more important is about what other people are saying about your services versus what you are saying about your services overall. So ultimately, why should you focus on content marketing online? How do you fit that into your already overwhelming time limitations that you have and your limited resources? And are your decision makers really online? Are they really searching for you? Well, according to a Pew Internet Research study in 2012, 53% of Americans aged 65 and older use the Internet. And in fact, that's growing. I recently came across an article related to boomers and how seniors are connecting online at a really startling pace. And it says that boomers' enthusiasm is growing as fast as the field of new products are available. And in fact, a 2012 Forrester research survey found that 78% of boomers are online, and of those, 54% own laptops. And tablet use is among boomers is growing. 11% already own one, and another 15% plan to buy one soon. And in addition, a 2012 survey by Nielsen showed that within 5 years, about 50% of the U.S. population will be 50 or older, and they'll control as much as 70% of the disposable income. The same study revealed that by February of 2012, 34% of people aged 65 and older use social media sites, like Facebook, for example, and 18% visit it daily. Most of the users in the study said they take advantage of the Internet to really stay connected to their family and friends, and boomers especially like it to stay connected to their grandchildren. And it's fair to assume that a majority of those family members will at some point use the Internet to find retirement or long-term care options for elderly relatives. This means that providers of services are going online, are being social, and are finding success. Well, just exactly what are people when they're the decision makers? Who's on the phone and what are they using? Well, family caregivers compared to non-family caregiver peers are more likely to have cell phones and smartphones, use the Internet or email, have a desktop computer, have a laptop computer. Family caregivers are key decision makers for your service. And if you look at these statistics, it's really clear that your audience is online, and they are searching for you. In fact, they're searching for things such as a specific disease or medical problem, a certain medical treatment or procedure, doctors or other health professionals, hospitals or other medical facilities, health insurance. They're looking for answers. They're looking for guidance. Well, what are some of the benefits of content marketing for you? Well, keep in mind that your target audience is searching for. They have questions. They need answers. And so pushing content out to them is not helpful in terms of salesy information. So they're looking for personal connections. They're looking for custom content that helps make them a personal connection with someone who can give them assistance, help, guidance. They're looking for increased visibility. Content marketing is great for SEO. If you can't be found online, then selling your service really online is pretty pointless. It's kind of like having a website that looks like brochureware, and it's not doing anything but telling all about me. Content marketing also establishes credibility. Content marketing helps to establish you as an expert regarding certain services or topics or pain points that your customers have. I can't tell you how many extremely knowledgeable and credible experts we have in our senior care and living industry, mainly because they're working with families and patients, residents, and clients every day, and they study the field of seniors and have the answers and know how to help. Yet we're not sharing that expertise online. Another benefit of content marketing is just starting a conversation. And that's really how social media started overall. It was really meant to be a conversation, to engage people in talking. It becomes a part of who you are, your clients, your existing clients, your potential leads. They want to have a conversation. And it also promotes trust in your brand. The more people who see valuable, credible content that you have offered for free, the more they're going to trust you as a resource and look at you as someone who can help them. All of these benefits ultimately help lead your customer to buying your product or using your service. In the end, revenue generation is your outcome. Now, keep in mind what your target audience is really searching for and what questions they're asking. So think about this. Blogging on a company website, for example, results in 65% more visitors than any other form of content. Posting content on social media sites like your Facebook or LinkedIn results in a 63% increase in marketing effectiveness. It's amazing that there isn't any other form of marketing that you can measure and see the return on investment as you can with content marketing. 70% of consumers really prefer quality content over ads. Again, that goes back to the concept of influence. People are influenced by other people. They are not influenced over advertising. And 60% of people feel more positive about a company after reading custom content on their site. So they're more likely to trust and want to engage in them. Well, what are some of the goals of content marketing? What are some things that you should think about as you start to formulate your plan? Well, of course, lead generation. Overall, content marketing can generate leads for you. And if you do a great job with profiling and targeted marketing, you can narrow the type of leads that you get so that they're qualified leads versus just a mass of anyone who's coming to your site. So you want the people most likely to utilize or need your services coming to your site. The other goal of content marketing is really educating and influencing. You are experts. You have valuable information that people need. And so educating them and using the influence of either existing clients or customers who have used your services to help influence potential new customers is very significant. And then, of course, promoting your overall brand awareness. There's nothing that you have a greater investment in than your brand identity. And so ensuring that you're promoting that brand and keeping it sustainable by continually positioning yourself online is very, very important when you think about content marketing. And of course, we'd all love to have increased sales. That obviously is the outcome of those leads that you get. And when the phone rings and when the leads come in through your website or other social platforms, that's when the people on the other end can really start to make those conversations and then build that relationship. And of course, increased website traffic. Content marketing can bring people to your website, and that in turn can help move them through the sales funnel process. Customer loyalty is very, very significant today because it's much cheaper to engage someone who's already utilized your services either currently or in the past than it is to go get new customers. So looking at your content marketing as a way to continue to market to existing customers, building that brand loyalty, because at the end of the day, let's just think, for example, for someone who's used maybe home health or skilled rehab or home care. Those are services they're only going to use for potentially a limited period of time, and then they may not need them. However, what we do know in caring for senior care and living industry clientele overall is that they're aging and they are going to need our services. So why not keep in touch? Because when you're in a saturated marketplace, They're going to forget who you are, and they're going to choose or be influenced by someone to choose another provider other than you. And then, of course, engagement. Always keeping at the forefront of your mind, engagement is what we want. We want conversation. We want to start to grow and build that relationship. So kind of think about your content marketing sales funnel to say, what percentage of our content marketing should be engagement? And it should be the biggest core percent, probably close to 70%. So engagement is really significant. So when you look at your top 3 goals of content marketing as you're putting your plan together, think about brand awareness. What is the goal? What tactics should you use? Lead generation. How many more leads do you want to generate as a result of applying content marketing strategies? And then, of course, customer acquisition or even retention could be one as well. How are we going to acquire more customers? And how are we going to retain the ones that we already have? Well, when you think about content marketing, we can't talk about content marketing without considering search engine optimization and how the two relate to each other. And what's important is quality, not quantity. Search engine optimization thrives on quality content, and content marketing does just that. It provides consistent content on the internet on an ongoing basis. And search engines love new stuff. Anything that's new, they're going to rank you higher in the search engine. The other thing to think about is the more likes you get through your social platforms and the more content is shared, the bigger boost your search engine optimization will get. So, for example, if somebody likes you on your Facebook, search engines look at that and they're like, oh, you're sharing that information. That information must be important. And so they give that a higher ranking. So it's really important to understand how your social platforms work, as well as other areas of influence online, to see the significance of how they influence the Google search rankings. And of course, there's increased traffic to your website. So quality content fuels Google organic traffic. And organic search engine optimization has more relevance than inorganic or paid. Now, that's not to say that you should do all of one or do all of the other, but it does say, hey, this is what Google thinks is most important. And so as you align your strategies, just keeping that into perspective will make your overall content marketing more likely to be more successful for you. So when we think about paid versus organic optimization, and we look at we go into Google and we search, what that is really saying, if you're not familiar with how Google ranks things, if you look in this particular picture, you can see that in this search, there's a pink box around the at-home care services. Well, that's actually paid search engine optimization. Somebody is paying to be in that particular spot. And anything below that are organic optimized searches. So understand that actually research shows that most people who are online realize that that pink paid box is just that. They're paying to be at the forefront. And even consumers are wise enough to look at that and say, that's not as relevant as some of these others down below who are showing up on the first page of Google. So it's just really important to understand the difference between how paid and organic optimization works and how relevant it is for content marketing. Now, some of the drivers of search engine optimization to consider are blog content, photos, videos. Search engines love photos and videos. They're very, very relevant. So anytime you're having videos on your website, making sure they're thoroughly connected and optimized within YouTube is extremely important. Any type of e-press releases, meaning other sites that are able to press your information for you is extremely important. And then shared content. Anytime, for example, someone is on your website and they share a particular page on your website with someone else, that sharing is extremely relevant. And same for blogging. If you are on somebody else's blog and you provide comments, or if somebody is on your blog and you provide comments, or if you are blogging for other places. So let's say, for example, you are at CCRC and maybe you have a local community college that has a website and they invite guest bloggers to come on. So you provide blog posting for their particular website. Search engines love that particular optimization and sharing potential. And then, of course, there's some things that you can't really see as you're looking at website, but are extremely important behind the scenes when you think about content marketing. So content, lots of words, right, information, those all have words in them. And those words are relative to how you optimize with putting a title on every page of your website, the description of that particular page, the images and how you tag those images, using all of those things relative to the key words based upon the research that you've done to make sure that you're using the most relevant words that are used by people searching for your particular services are extremely important. So again, you could do a lot of blogging, you could do a lot of content, but if you haven't done the due diligence of understanding keywords and the keywords most significant to your audience, then your content really isn't going to be as effective for search engine optimization as it could. So how do you get started? You want to reach those 3 goals, so it can feel a little daunting and a little overwhelming. And so one of the things to understand is it does take time. I always tell folks, if somebody has told you that content marketing doesn't take time, you need to run. Because like anything else that's good and that works, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes being very intentional about it. So even if you start with something as very basic as trying to allocate out so much time a week, even if it's just 15 minutes to do a short blog, can be more effective than if you're doing nothing. So even if you have a blog on your site and you're not doing absolutely any posting, or your blogs are old that are sitting on there, they are not helping you. In fact, they can greatly affect your reputation because the first impression that someone may have of your service is your particular blog. And if they see you haven't updated it for 3 months, they're going to wonder, well, what type of quality service do you provide? How often do you update the training of your staff, your building, your facilities? So they are going to make a judgment based upon that first impression that they see. So blogging is really one of the greatest ways to provide content. So these are a couple of examples of, again, different blog articles. And it only takes a few minutes every week to come up with information that's very relevant to your key audience. You can take advantage of posting weekly, but really daily is the optimal. Blog content's really easily shareable across all of your platforms, and you can integrate it even into your non-internet format. Blogging is great for search engine optimization. And what I love about it the most is it does establish credibility for your organization and builds awareness for smaller organizations. So blogging is extremely, extremely important. So think about this. Has a client recently praised the service you provided to them? So maybe you did something really great and they said, wow, I loved what you did. It was because of you that we were able to. Or as a result of what you've done, we have. So when you hear those types of messages, why not put those in a case study? And a case study is content. So creating a case study out of favorable outcomes, which is really relevant to our industry today, everything is about outcomes, what you've done and your ability to measure it. So anytime you can put that into a case study and demonstrates the results, really, again, elevates your expertise. And then you can take that case study and put it into your blog article, as well as stream it across all of your other social media platforms. Another format is to think about podcasts and webinars, such as what we're on today. So if you start podcasting, one thing about that, you have to keep it up, because it is a form of audio presentation, sometimes video. And once you get an audience who is engaged with podcasting, you're going to be looking for more. You can also post the webinars or podcasts to your website, and that also helps, again, with search engine optimization and demonstrates your credibility, which, again, builds the trust and the brand awareness. And webinars such as providing little mini-bite webinars on how to be an effective caregiver and all of the things related to caregiving. You could break all of those apart and create mini webinars for people. Again, people are very visual. They are more apt to engage in a webinar or a video, something like that, than they are to have to read a lot of information. So it could be really a nice educational platform for you to consider. Another format is white papers. Now, white papers can really establish you as an expert. They do take time, though. They can be detailed, but in the end, especially if you kind of create a series of white papers, they can help you to become a recognized leader in your industry. Or maybe you have a particular niche, like maybe your home care offers specialized dementia services. So if you can relate how you do that in a white paper that gives relevant information, people will be pulled to that. And you can also use white papers for what we call opt-ins or call to actions that you can place on your website in exchange for that information. People will give you their name and their email address. So again, you're giving something helpful that creates and makes you look as an expert. And we mentioned infographics earlier. You might just start to be dabbling or seeing what infographics do. But infographics, I think, are here to stay. Although time-consuming to create, especially initially, people, again, think about us adults. We're very visual. We scan, we don't read. And so infographics is exactly what it says. It's like a picture book story. So it puts message, a very poignant message, in a very quick, easy, scannable framework. So thinking about infographics may be something that you hadn't considered in your overall plan, but it is going to continue to grow, and it's very relevant to search engine optimization. So just to give you some ideas, some things to think about, if that's something that you haven't seen go on in your particular market area, you could get a jump on that and begin to offer something very different and unique with infographics. And then, of course, there's social media. And I'm certain that many, many of you are already on social media some way, shape, or form. But the key is, number one, ensuring that it's appropriately set up and branded, and that you're posting regularly, that you're sharing your blog content through your social media platforms, you're engaging in conversation, and you're responding to questions. The worst thing that you can do on any social platform is avoid conversations that feel uncomfortable or not engage in social media because you're afraid of what people will say. You have that actually sends a whole other message to folks if you're not engaging. So if you have social media, make sure that it's appropriately optimized and branded, and that you're using it to its fullest potential to really let it work for you. So you can see some examples of different postings, providing engaging information. And it's all right, we get asked this question kind of a lot. Exactly, how much content should we put on there? How much of it is about, education versus us? And can we put some fun things and inspirational things in there? And again, a little bit of it goes back to testing based upon your target audience and who you're trying to attract. Sometimes putting some fun and inspirational messages in there can really elicit some nice conversation and be an icebreaker. Other times, having a message on there or sharing information from another website or making that link can be extremely helpful. So again, a little of it is trial and error. And being a resource is extremely, extremely important. And again, there's nothing more relevant that can gain you search engine optimization than having relevant content on your website. So many people say, I don't have time for blogging. But blogging is the most effective form of online marketing. And if your customers are looking for helpful information, again, creating content, and if you can't create the content, there are other ways the content can be created uniquely for you. This is an example of one of our content clients that we generate and do blog writing for specifically to their particular service line. And again, making sure that you're looking at, for example, you see overwhelmed feeling finding important information. So again, thinking about giving information that's extremely helpful. Give them a reason to come back to your website over and over again. Just don't think about, oh, they purchased our service or they're going to use our service, now they're done. You want to look at your website as a constant cycle, a constant funnel to pull them back. Give them a reason to come back to you over and over. Now, one thing that's really important to think about with content marketing is your reputation online. And yes, you do have a reputation online. And if you don't control your brand online, someone else is going to. And there's more opportunities than ever before to quickly rank negative or slanderous results that are actively presented in search engines. So if you don't protect yourself, someone can easily post a comment, make a video, create a blog post, file a complaint, promote your competition, develop a hate site, or even more. Even worse, an angry employee will leave a company with revenge on their mind, and it could wreak havoc with your online reputation. So managing your online reputation isn't shameless promotion. It's really good common sense. It's a good business practice. And who really cares about your online reputation? Well, it really can be looked at in a number of ways. Whether you're seeking employment, whether you're selling a service, whatever you're doing online, someone is going to turn to a search engine and they're going to learn more about you. Consumers, other stakeholders, referral sources, they're going to look for you. And the results of a negative online reputation may be as subtle as a user clicking on a competitor's search result instead of yours, or as damaging as an industry-wide boycott of your service. So besides the financial implications that could be considered lost opportunity that you may not even know exist, what about your organization's credibility that could be called into question? So thinking about how to manage your online reputation is extremely important today. Potential problems. Well, if you find you have a number of search results ranking for your organization that aren't about you, especially in the top 10, well, you need to start building your reputation. I mean, if no one can see you when they're searching, that's actually a problem. That means you don't have an online reputation. So even though there isn't an obvious problem, you still need to worry, because if you haven't actively grown your search results, then it's much easier for something to creep to the top when someone does have a problem with your organization or your brand. So by not being proactive about creating your online reputation, you really leave yourself vulnerable for someone else to do it. And then there's the not so obvious problem. If there's a number of search results that are about you, but they're indifferent, you still need to focus on growing your online reputation. Why? Because as I demonstrated earlier, people are seeking information about your services. And you want them to find something that's really relevant and positive. If the search results are crowded within different websites detailing competitive research or other organizational profiles, the user isn't finding something that immediately wins them over. And it's to be expected that you'll have an entry or a directory listing, but if that's the majority of your search presence, if only search presence is being in a directory listing, how is the information supposed to have a positive impression of you? You simply recognize that there's nothing wrong. And remember, the most influential thing is when other people are talking about you. And of course, then the obvious problem is if someone reports your organization to a watch group or a competitor follows you around and leaves negative comments or an angered employee, don't avoid it. Address it. Talk about it. Manage it. Avoiding anything negative that's going online would create you more harm than good. So the overall key to managing your online reputation is to monitor, manage, and respond, and don't hide it. So what should you think about for 2013? I know we're at February, almost moving into March, and you're like, wow, I already have my plan for the year. Well, I'm not sure about you, but the one thing I know with marketing plans today, they're changing, and they change on an ongoing basis. So it's not too late to maybe rethink what you've put in place for your overall marketing strategies and look at content marketing. Well, think about some of the things that are happening both in and outside our industry, and these are some of the strategies. And what I have come to learn in my many, many years of marketing is that some of the most influential changes that take place are outside our senior care and living industry, within other industries, and the more we follow and monitor them, the more successful we are with our marketing strategies. So one of the things going on right now is that many are spending a higher percentage of their marketing budgets on content marketing. They're actually foregoing a percentage of newspaper advertising and switching those dollars over into content marketing and blog subscriptions. So reevaluating how the marketing budget's being spent is really important. Thinking about using a multitude of tactics and distributing the content on more social networks. So things such as maybe Pinterest. You're like, wow, Pinterest isn't where my audience is, but it is where your audience is because we know particularly females are the most common group who are looking for senior care and living services. And Pinterest is predominantly female. So why not think about how to use things such as Pinterest or other social networks and then be very strategic about what you're doing with that particular tactic and the content on that network. I think one of the most important things to consider is creating specific profiles or personas for each of your target audience, whoever they may be. Tailor very specific content to that persona or that profile. Be very specific with your audience targeting. It's very important today because you can't afford to do shotgun marketing. People are tuning us out. So we have to figure out how to get specifically to that decision maker with information that's relative and important to what they want to know. And again, time. It takes longer than 15 minutes. Yes, there's some things that you can do every day in 15 minutes. But overall, your content marketing strategy, it does take time, and it takes planning, and it takes continually monitoring, and measuring, and learning. One thing with internet is it's constantly changing today. The search engines are constantly changing their algorithms. They're constantly changing and looking at what is genuine and authentic and what they want to focus on. So as much as one aspect of content marketing is generating content, and making sure there's a strategic approach to distribution across multiple tactical strategies, overall, it's also data mining and keeping on top of awareness of what is going on relative to search engine optimization, as well as other upcoming internet marketing strategies. And that data mining does take time. Well, I think one of the things that I found most relevant as I was putting this presentation together for you is this particular quote. Content is the voice of your brand, and it's therefore important to allocate the respect, investment, and focus it requires. Creating great content is difficult, and delivering great content consistently through established processes is complex. However, this is what's required if you want to take your brand from good to great in today's communication environment. And for those of you who are book readers, you know that Jim Collins' book, Moving Good to Great, really was about the same process, wasn't it? It's about moving from good to great. It takes diligence, it takes intentional planning, and it takes consistently monitoring many different strategies and tactics. It takes realizing that there's not one perfect way, and there's not any guarantee in the outcome, because the one thing that's relative to internet marketing is you can constantly monitor and measure what you have done and quickly make changes. You can learn what your audience likes and what it doesn't like, what it's pulled to, what type of content it likes, what particular day it's more apt to read the content, time of day. So looking at all of those factors and being constantly vigilant and making changes is really what will lead to a successful strategy overall for you as you look at your content marketing program. And so, Robert, with that, I'm happy we have a few minutes left. If there's any particular questions we may be able to help with today, be happy to see if we can answer those.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you very much again, Patty, for that presentation. We do have one question from Allison. Allison, I'm just going to unmute you now. Go ahead and ask your question. Allison Roddy? Okay. Well, Allison has actually sent in her question. Allison's question is, how much time should we be allocating to each different kind of content marketing?
Oh, that's a big question. It depends. Some folks can sit down and write a blog relatively quickly, and they can do that in 15 minutes. Other people, writing is not for them. And writing short is even harder than it is writing long, which is actually more important because people scan, they don't read online. So I think it depends on a number of factors. It depends on the individual, their knowledge level, and I think it also depends upon how integrated and connected they have streamlined their tactics together so that they're working harder for them. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer. I think it's dependent upon many factors. What I would say is I think at a minimum, people should at least allocate between 15 to 30 minutes a day to both manage and monitor any content marketing strategies they have in place. Because if they're not allocating any time to do that, then they're going to quickly lose sight of what's going on and the relevance and make quick changes.
Okay. Now there's a related question here. What kinds of content marketing, are there certain guidelines based on, let's say, the profitability of your company or the size of an organization that should dictate the kind of content marketing they're doing?
I think that goes back to, yes, I think that there are certain types of services. And when I say services, for example, it could be a home care, home health, skilled nursing, independent living, what have you. I think that we can learn from the past what others have found successful and say that, yeah, there are certain strategies that are more apt to be successful than others in certain services. A little bit of it is trial and error because every geographic location is also a little bit different. And so one thing relative to internet marketing is if most of our services are in a geolocation, so to speak. So every location could be getting different results. So again, I think it really goes back to that monitoring and measuring, a little trial and error. And I think the other thing, the answer to that is internet marketing, content marketing is a long tail strategy. So you're not going to get a quick return on your investment right away. And if anybody thinks so, don't jump into it because you're going to be really disappointed. It takes a while to generate that online reputation and presence. So usually a minimum of 6 months before you start to see some feedback. At a minimum, just simply adding a blog to your website and keeping content on there once a week is better than just having a website and not doing any other form of content marketing. And then grow your strategies one tactic at a time. So kind of that's a multi-pronged answer to that question.
Okay, and you've kind of just led into the third question we got here, is that how can communities measure the results of content marketing?
Well, again, you're going to use tactics. Probably your easiest, you have metrics for example, within your Facebook. You can manage within Facebook. You can see the metrics for your Facebook and what's going on with that. But the better thing is your website should be the hub of all of your content marketing efforts. So using such as Google Analytics and understanding how to read the metrics, what's important to read in those metrics, and how to change up those metrics. That's what I would use first and foremost as my baseline and measurement tools. There's obviously other analytic tools that you can use. You can pay to use, but I think that's, so far, it's a good, solid, free tool, and that's where I would start first with measuring analytics and outcomes. And set your goals so they're measurable. You know, for me, I had one organization that said one of their goals was bounces. Well, I don't really care about bounces. What I care about is how many leads you're getting off of your site. So again, kind of look at your metrics because you want to think of your content marketing strategy as a sales funnel. And your metrics should be in line, your goals should be in line with a sales kind of mentality when you think about a sales funnel.
Excellent. Thank you so much again, Patty, for that presentation. Again, that was Patty Cisco of Cisco & Company. This presentation will be available on our website, retirementhomes.com, as well as at youtube.com/retirementhomes. Next month, join us when we welcome back marketing guru Irving Stackpole of Stackpole & Associates, who will show us some creative ways to get more publicity and exposure for your senior living communities. Once again, check retirementhomes.com for information on that webinar, or contact me at robert@retirementhomes.com for details. Have a